A Russian state TV host and an ally of President Vladimir Putin issued an ominous warning to the United Kingdom on state TV, according to Newsweek. During an appearance on channel Russia 1, Vladimir Solovyov, one of the most prominent figures in Kremlin-backed media, suggested Russia put the UK underwater. Newsweek says that the UK is one of Europe's top suppliers of military assistance to Ukraine in the war. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer made his first official visit to Kiev last week since taking office in July, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said they agreed to at least $3.6 billion in annual military aid. Starmer's predecessor, Rishi Sunak, had vowed to continue supporting Kyiv for as long as it takes. Solovyov began by bringing out a large military plaque from Ukraine's large Russia-occupied Donetsk region, where fierce fighting is ongoing. He issued a warning to NATO member states, Germany and France, suggesting that Russia would soon seize these nations. The Kremlin propagandist went on to suggest that he wouldn't be able to get a plaque from London because it will be underwater, and he hasn't mastered an underwater sport yet. Kremlin propagandists have routinely warned of a looming world war and strikes by Russia on NATO territory over aid and weapons provided to Kiev by the Joe Biden administration on members of the military alliance. Russian President Vladimir Putin, in March 2024, brushed off accusations that he would order an attack on a NATO member. Their statements about our alleged intention to attack Europe after Ukraine is sheer nonsense, Putin said, adding that Washington's defense budget is more than 10 times Moscow's. In view of that, are we going to wage a war against NATO? It's ravings. Anton Gerashchenko, a former advisor to Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs, shared a video of the state TV broadcast on X, formally, and wrote, "Attention, Europe, Russian propagandist Solovyov promises to bring plaques from Berlin, Bonn and Paris." He adds that he won't be able to bring one from London because it would be underwater. And yet, Russia claims it doesn't really intend to attack NATO. Russian state TV host Vladimir Solovyov said, "I have often shown plaques from liberated Mariupol. We bring them from everywhere as a reminder. I'll place it here nicely. As for how the enemy behaves, let them prepare. I will bring these plaques from Berlin, Bonn and Paris. I won't be able to bring one from London. I haven't mastered an underwater sport yet. Therefore, I and Comrade General Andrei Gurulev probably won't go deep enough to remove the plaque. The UK will continue to provide military support to Ukraine despite threats from Russian propagandists." North Korea will send a new group of troops to fight against Ukraine within the next 2 months. The New York Times reported, citing a senior US Defense Department official. The publication compiled a picture of how North Koreans are acting in the battlefield in the Kursk region of Russia, where the Ukrainian Defense Forces operation is ongoing. To do this, journalists talked to Ukrainian servicemen and commanders participating in direct battles with DPRK soldiers, as well as military analysts and 4 Pentagon representatives. North Korean soldiers are given their own patch of ground to attack. Unlike the Russians, they advance with little or no armor support. When they attack, they don't stop to regroup or retreat, as the Russians often do when they start taking heavy losses. Instead, they move through mine-strewn fields under heavy fire and send out a wave of 40 or more soldiers, the publication says. It is also stated that when the North Koreans capture a position, they do not try to consolidate it, leaving this task to Russian reinforcements. They themselves retreat and prepare for a new attack. The North Koreans essentially operate as a separate fighting force with distinct language, training and military culture, Ukrainian military and US officials say. In part, these are two different armies that have never trained or operated together. Celeste A. Wallander, a former Assistant Secretary of the Pentagon for International Security Affairs. The North Koreans, she said, were special forces trained for precision strikes, while the Russians had mostly used them as infantry. As Ukrainian Commander Andrei noted, the DPRK soldiers are suffering many losses, but continue to send new units into attacks. Just forward, it's motivation, orders and strict discipline. It feels like they came here specifically to die, and they know it. He added that the North Koreans should not be underestimated. According to him, they had no combat experience before, but now they are acquiring it and are becoming very strong. The shock brigade tactic, where soldiers advance without worrying about the chaos that awaits them, is widely used in North Korean military training and propaganda. According to South Korean intelligence officials, the strategy, adopted from the Korean War, has resulted in numerous casualties. But the DPRK will consider these losses a necessary price for improving its skills in modern warfare, the publication says. The Atesh movement has recorded the active construction of fortifications by the occupiers on the coastline near Yevpatoria in the temporarily occupied Crimea. The occupiers are preparing for the landing of the Ukrainian armed forces and digging in on the beaches in Crimea. Atesh reports, noting that the movement's agents have conducted reconnaissance of the fortifications. In particular, as noted, the occupiers are building fortifications, dugouts and trenches on the coastline near Yevpatoria. Atesh agents also recorded the locations of personnel. Such facilities are guarded and the approaches to the beaches are blocked. But this is not a problem for us because our agents are both among local residents and among the Russian military, who are aware of the criminality of the Putin regime's war against Ukraine, the statement said. Representatives of the underground resistance carried out a sabotage operation in areas temporarily controlled by Russian forces in southern Ukraine. As a result of the partisans' actions, the enemy's logistics were disrupted on the railway section between Novoaleksiyivka, Melitopol, according to the Telegram channel of the partisan movement Atesh. It is reported that electrical equipment in a relay cabinet was destroyed in the settlement of Oleksiyivka, Kherson region near the administrative border with occupied Crimea. The movement highlights that the railway line Novoaleksiyivka-Melitopol supplies Russian troops in the Zaporizhia region who are currently actively assaulting Ukrainian positions. We have received information that the Russian police are alarmed and are actively searching for our agent, but they will not find him, the Atesh movement stated. Earlier, the Atesh movement had destroyed a relay cabinet near Armyansk, disrupting the supply of Russian military equipment and ammunition from occupied Crimea to the Kherson region. Additionally, it was reported that the partisans had previously carried out a sabotage operation on the railway line connecting Rostov-on-Don with the temporarily occupied Mariupol in the Donetsk region. In August, it became known that Ukrainian underground fighters had destroyed a key logistical hub for the Russian forces in Donetsk, damaging a section of railway used by the invaders to transport military equipment. In July, Ukrainian partisans halted the movement of North Korean munitions trains near Yekaterinburg. The successful operation took place on the Trans-Siberian Railway. Also in March, members of the underground movement carried out a sabotage operation at a railway facility in the Moscow region, destroying a relay cabinet near the Golovkovo railway station in the Solnechnogorsk district of the Moscow suburbs. In February, Ukrainian partisans conducted a sabotage attack on the railway in Volgograd, disrupting the logistics of the Russian forces.